It doesn't matter if you want to slice it, dice it, or just split a log of soap. At some stage in your life, you're going to need something to cut your soap straight. So if you're in business, let me show you how to make a DIY soap cutter on a shoestring budget. The soap cutter or log splitter. Now this is a nifty little tool if you want to cut your soap straight. Now this was my first one I've made, and it worked very well, and I've cut a lot of soap with this already. The only downside with this is if you tighten your eye bolt, the two pieces of wood on the side pulls inwards. So you can't really support it because then you can't get your soap in between here. So I'm going to show you how to make a little bit of an upgraded version. You can still make one like this. This works very, very nicely. I'm just going to improve on my first one here. So what you're going to need here is you're going to need a piece of wood, 15mm thickness. You can use either melamine or melamine, plywood or superwood. Doesn't really matter, all of them will work fine. You're going to need one piece of 400 by 200mm. You're going to cut two pieces, 120 by 100mm, and you're going to cut a slit into it. Now you can cut it all the way through, doesn't matter, but then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to line them up properly. So I just thought before we get to the end, it's easier to line them up that way. So this is just the way that I like to do it. Then you might need two extra little pieces. If you've got a guitar tuning key that you can use for this, then you're not going to need the two little pieces of wood, the eye bolt, wing nuts, or the washer. So this is either or depending on what you've got at hand. I don't have a guitar tuning key, so I just improvised with this. You're also going to need 10 drywall screws. The size that I use is 4.2mm by 30mm. You're going to need two cup hooks. I've got two 19mm cup hooks here. The size doesn't really matter that much. Your wire is just going to run through it. For tools, you're going to need a screwdriver, a ruler, something to mark your stuff with. You're going to need a drill, two drill bits. The one drill bit is 3mm that you're going to drill a guide hole. I already drilled the guide holes here. So it's just so that your wood doesn't split when the moment you screw in the screws. And then you're going to need a 10mm as well. The 10mm is just to sink your holes here, like on the bottom. I just sink the hole a little bit with the 10mm so that when I screw in my screw, it's going to be flush into the wood and it's not going to scratch my table when I move it around later on. So that's what you're going to use the 10mm drill bit for. And the last piece that you're going to need here is a piece of wire. You need steel wire to cut your soap with. Now this you can find different ways. I'm using steel wire that they use to make bicycle locks with. You can buy it per meter at the hardware store. Just unravel them and you can use one wire at a time. It's going to last your lifetime. I've got this for 3 or 4, even more years maybe now, and I think I bought 2 meters. I only unraveled 1 meter at the side, gave away a lot of it, and I still have a lot of them left over. So cheap way. If you are married to a fisherman, or maybe you're a fisherman yourself, you can use tracer wire as well, or you can use guitar string if you have musicians close to you. So that is about all, and these are spaces. We will still get to them. This is the height that I would like to split my soap logs, 10 centimeter. Or if I want to cut soap bars, then this is going to be my spaces for that as well. So these, we will still get to them because this is optional, or not really optional, but you're going to have to choose your own sizes there. Okay, first what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of wood. You must decide where you want these two pieces. Doesn't really matter, you can move them up and down. There's not a specific size that you need to do them. I like it to have this one side a little bit larger than the other one because I'm going to put my log here and I'm going to push it through to this side. These two, I use the piece of wood. The thickness of the wood is 15 or 60mm. I just mark it out three times this side, so it's 1, 2, 3. And on this side, I've marked it twice. So these two are going to be on the two inside marks here. So I just mark them out so that I can draw my guide holes easily. And if I marked it on both sides. So on the other side, these are just pencil marks, so I marked it so the two of them is easier to line up on the top and the bottom. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to first add my two little eyeballs here on the side. Oh, not eyeballs. These are my two cup hooks. And that is why you are drilling guide holes here, because it can be quite tough to get them in here. Now we will adjust the direction as we need later on. They just need to be in there. The reason why I'm putting these in first, if I screw this in, there's no space to work there. So if they are in there, then they're done there. There's enough space to take them out should you need to take them out. But this is just easier. I can work over this part where the wood is going to be. So these are my two little cup hooks there. Then I need to add one of the sides here. Now I've already drilled my holes just to save time, and I think it's really boring to watch other people drill holes. So they're already in there, no problem. I'm going to turn it over. I'm just going to start them at the bottom. I'm going to feel with my finger here and stop the moment I can feel it in there. Okay, there's the first one. I can feel it just peeking through there. I'm going to start the next one as well. There, I can feel it. This one and the second one, you need to line it up there. Okay, I'm just going to tighten it properly, make sure that it's flush. It's not going to stick out and scratch your table or your surface where you're going to work at. And there's the first side. Then I'm going to need to attach the other side as well. Now I must just check carefully which way around I mark them. I believe it must be this way. So I'm just going to add the two screws from the bottom as well again. If you see the wood push away, just go back a little bit and start again and hold it tight. Otherwise it's going to make a little divider there, or it's just not going to be flush. Okay, there's the first one. Just need to make sure it's straight there, and you can tighten the last one there. Now you can actually turn it upside down. You can actually press down on it, which is going to be much easier. And trust me, it's much easier to work with the longer screwdriver. This is just easier underneath the camera, otherwise I'm going to be in your face completely. Don't suffer with a short screwdriver if you don't need to. Okay, there we go. So now we've got the two sides. We've got our two little cup hooks there. Now how this is going to work is, instead of pulling these two towards one another, you're going to have two spacers on the side, the size that you want them to be. And your wire is going to run through your cup hook, over there, and through the cup hook, and we're going to tighten it on this side. So it's going to more pull downwards than it's actually going to pull it towards. I'm just going to add my little improvised piece that I'm going to use instead of the guitar tuning key. So what I've done here is I took two small pieces of wood, I drilled guide holes across of one another. Through the wood, I tightened the two pieces of wood and I drilled a hole in the middle where the eyeball can go through. The reason why I've done it from one corner to another, when I'm going to tighten this thing from the bottom upwards, I'm going to put the two screws in the bottom the opposite direction so that they're going to miss each other. They're not going to screw into one another there. So that's what I've done there. I still need to do the guide holes all the way through for this one. I'm just going to mark it there so that I know where to drill it. Okay, that was the first one there. Not actually sure of my guys, and I'm going to straighten them up straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first one. Turn it this way around, if you can see. There, I can feel it. Okay, so the first one is tightened. Now it's easier to drill the second hole because the first one will just keep it straight there. The lovely thing about making your own stuff is it does save a lot of money. But nobody's going to see your cutter. They're just going to see your straight soap. So if it's a little bit skew or it's a little bit off, doesn't really matter. As long as you've got a straight wire that you can cut your soap with, then everything is good. It's all that you need. Okay, there we go. So now I've got my little piece of wood there where I'm going to add this. Now remember, if you've got a guitar tuning key, you're going to add this here and you're going to tighten your wire with that. Now when I measured it, this side there's more than enough space. This side I can't get my little piece of wood in there because I've screwed in my cup hook too close. Now, no big issue. You're just going to take a plier and move it a bit back, and there we go. So now it fits there nicely, and if it's a little bit skew you can turn it. The cup hook, most probably you can turn it the other way so it looks the other way as well. So you can just turn it back. This side it might still work, so let's just move them back this side. You're actually on an exploring mission with me here today. Now the reason why I've got 2 left here is I already used 2 screws there. So we're still gonna add a guide hole and a screw here when we're gonna measure our wire to go through there. Okay, we're just gonna drill a hole here and we're gonna put the screw in here, but we're not gonna screw it all the way in. Okay, this one. I'm going to screw it all the way to the bottom. I actually need a little bit of a shorter one here, but I can replace it later on. So now what we're going to need to do is going to need to measure our piece of wire that we need here. Okay, this should be long enough. Okay, so we've got a single string of wire here. I think for this recording purposes I'm going to use a piece of cotton string just so that you can see it show up on the camera. Okay, there we go. So the basis here will be, we're going to make a little loop with our wire. We're going to hook it over here. It's going to go underneath. And we're going to have a spacer. The thickness of the soap that I would like to cut, this is 1 inch. It's going to run over. You're going to put your other spacer there underneath that cup hook. And let's see if this can actually cut string as well. And this is going to go through here. Oops. Maybe I should put on the let's just first tighten this. You're going to measure it so that you can still catch it on this side, but there's enough space that you can still pull it backwards. Okay, over there underneath the cup hook, I'm going to put it through here, and there it got undone. And you're going to put this one in here and you're going to pull it tight. So I'm just going to replace it with the steel wire to show you how it's going to look, and then I'll come back to you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use something that is thick enough. The screwdriver is not going to do it. It's not going to. So I'm going to use a pen that is a little bit thicker than the head of the screw. I'm going to take my steel wire. I'm going to make a little eye there. Pull it tight. And start to wind it up a little bit. And then I'm going to take this end after a few winds and I'm going to wind it back. The moment you wind it back towards the pen, it will grip and it's not going to come undone on you. This is most probably the most difficult part of the whole project, is just to get this steel wire loops done. Yeah, and be careful. It's very sharp. You can puncture yourself. Okay, so I've made a tiny little ring here that's going to fit over here. It's going to go underneath, over my 2 spaces this side, And now I need to measure it on this side. So I'm gonna put my eye bolt in here. I'm gonna put it as far back as possible here, and I'm gonna measure where I want to tie it. Around about there. Same thing, gonna wind it up. Turn it to the back. Wind it up on this side. Now steel wire tend to jump back, and it's not one of the easiest wires to work with. But if you're not going to try to push extremely hard soap through this, then it should last quite a long time before you have to replace it. Okay, and this is where I have made my mistake. I wasn't supposed to put it as far back as possible here. I was supposed to leave it as far back this side, because now I have no way to tension this anymore. So I'm just going to fix this. So learn from my mistake here. Oh, now you know what? It was not hooked over there, so I might be lucky to be able to pull it far enough. Okay, so sometimes we're lucky, sometimes we're not. This is where we learn from our mistakes and where wisdom comes from. And you're going to tighten it. Now here on the sides, these are my spaces, so the wire is going to run over it, and it's going to be the same height on both sides there. Okay, this soap was cut on a previous cutter, but I think I can use it to just demonstrate here. What you're going to do is you're going to put your soap up straight, and you're just going to press against your wire, and you're going to slice it through. And there's the first cut, and the second one, and all of them exactly the same size. So there you go. You're going to have lovely pieces of soap, cut easily and straight each and every time. There's the third one, and I think this one is already up. This one is going to run underneath. There is your soap cutter, easy as that. And you can adjust these sides. You can just loosen this, and you can put larger spaces in here. For example, if you're going to want to use it as a log split, if you've got a 20 bar mold and you want to you're just going to need to lengthen this wire, so you can maybe make for yourself two lengths of wire, and just untighten it here, hook it over the next one, and you can move on to the next one.